Mrs. Diallo, a 70-year-old black woman with a gentle smile and eyes marked by the wisdom of the years, decides to visit for the first time a luxury hotel that her son had recommended. For a long time, she had dreamed of seeing with her own eyes this place he had spoken of so much, a location where elegance and refinement blended with a breathtaking view of the sea. She arrives dressed simply but with undeniable taste, wearing a long emerald green dress that, in its simplicity, enhances the nobility of her figure and contrasts harmoniously with her ebony skin. As she crosses the glass doors of the hotel, Mrs. Diallo is immediately struck by the refined atmosphere that envelopes her. The air is scented with subtle floral notes, and the faint murmur of elegant conversations fills the hall, only interrupted by the soft clinking of heels on the polished marble floor. She observes the majestic chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, each adorned with sparkling crystals that diffuse a soft golden light, like the first rays of a morning sun. The walls, decorated with fine wood paneling, the art paintings carefully hung, and the plush, deep red rugs, create an atmosphere of luxury and calm she had never known before. The elderly woman moves slowly, taking time to savor every detail, a faint smile lighting up her face. She stops to admire a large painting depicting a marine scene, with waves that seem to almost move under the soft lighting. Her gaze lingers on the fine woodwork of the frame, admiring the care given to every decorative element. She hesitates for a moment before making her way to the reception desk, her eyes still fascinated by the vastness of the hall. Her walk is measured, her back straight, exuding a natural dignity. She notices the fleeting glances of some clients who linger on her with barely hidden curiosity, as if wondering what a woman like her could be doing in such a place. These glances do not disturb her. After all, she is here to marvel, and nothing can take away this simple and sincere joy. She hesitates slightly before approaching the reception to ask for information. The coolness of the air conditioning contrasts with the warmth emanating from her heart, beating fast with anticipation. But as soon as she opens her mouth, a tall man in a flawless suit approaches her with a disdainful air. The hotel manager, Mr. Legrand, looks her up and down, his piercing gaze examining every detail of her appearance. He frowns as though her mere presence is an inconvenience to him. His expression shifts between disgust and annoyance, as if he cannot fathom that a woman like her would have the audacity to be in his establishment. In a sharp tone, he asks, "Madam, are you sure you're in the right place? This resort is reserved for distinguished guests." The words leave his mouth like arrows, striking straight at Mrs. Diallo's heart. His voice is cutting, resonating throughout the grand hall, where glittering chandeliers hang above, highlighting the contrast between the luxury around her and the humiliation she feels. Ignoring her gaze full of softness and patience, he adds, louder, almost indignantly, so the other clients can hear, "I think you're in the wrong place." The elderly lady, though stung by his arrogance, remains calm. She raises her head slightly, defying the injustice of his words. For her, this moment is both humiliating and revealing of the reality she has often faced throughout her life. The contrast between her upbringing, full of respect and dignity, and this man's attitude is striking. She recalls the life lessons her mother had taught her, those that taught her how to face prejudice with dignity and grace. Memories flood her mind, long discussions about self-worth, resilience in the face of adversity, and the moments when her mother, with a look full of wisdom, had told her that true power lies in how one stands tall when being belittled. The pain of the humiliation mixes with a stubborn pride, and Mrs. Diallo knows she cannot be brought down. The other clients' gazes then turn toward Mrs. Diallo, some showing palpable discomfort, others cold indifference. Whispers begin to spread throughout the hotel lobby, a collective murmur of curiosity and surprise. Despite the humiliation, Mrs. Diallo remains calm, offering a soothing look to the manager as if trying to defuse the rising tension. She replies softly, "I believe I am in the right place, sir." Her words, though full of serenity, are charged with determination. She feels that every syllable matters, every inflection of her voice resonating as a challenge. Mr. Legrand, irritated by her response, raises his voice even further, his anger betrayed by the redness creeping up his impeccably shaved cheeks. He signals to a security guard, his gaze burning, and almost orders, like an unsatisfied ruler, "Take this lady out. We don't tolerate intrusions here." The security guard, a towering figure, steps forward with a confident stride, but he seems to hesitate as he approaches Mrs. Diallo. The calm and resolute look in the elderly woman's eyes seems to unsettle him. The other clients, witnesses to the scene, exchange glances among themselves. Some furrow their brows, clearly uncomfortable with how the events are unfolding. Others, though reluctant, seem encouraged by Mrs. Diallo's determination. "Wait," a voice interjects from a corner of the lobby. It's Idris Diallo, Mrs. Diallo's son, who had been standing nearby, dressed elegantly and distinguished. His well-tailored suit and confident bearing reveal a man accustomed to moving in circles of influence. Idris is the owner of this hotel, a renowned entrepreneur, respected by his employees and admired by his peers. Seeing the scene unfolding, he calmly approaches and places a firm hand on Mr. Legrand's shoulder, whose arrogant demeanor begins to falter. "Allow me to introduce Mrs. Diallo," Idris says, looking the manager straight in the eye, his voice resonating with authority. "My mother and your honored guest today." Mr. Legrand's face instantly changes color, shifting from disdain to visible panic. He stammers out apologies, his words tumbling in a desperate attempt to salvage the situation. "I didn't know. I didn't mean to." His words clash with the reality of his actions, unable to meet the gaze of either Idris or Mrs. Diallo, who remains dignified without a word of reproach. Idris, unflappable, speaks to him one final time, his voice clear and precise. "Your behavior towards my mother and our guests is unacceptable. Take the day to reflect on your future with this establishment." Every word he speaks is a promise of action, a warning that goes beyond mere reprimand. He removes his hand from Mr. Legrand's shoulder, leaving the hotel manager on the verge of collapse, while the murmurs in the lobby turn into a collective whisper of surprise and relief. Idris then gently takes his mother's arm, and together they head towards the hotel's terrace, where a dinner in her honor awaits, with a breathtaking view of the sea. Their steps lead them to a space bathed in golden light, where tables are adorned with fresh flowers and delicate tableware, creating a warm and welcoming atmosphere. As they move forward, the other guests lower their eyes, ashamed of having witnessed the humiliation without intervening. A sense of guilt hangs in the air, weighing on them like a dark cloud, but it is quickly replaced by silent admiration for Mrs. Diallo and her son. Mrs. Diallo, still calm, casts a benevolent glance at her son. She sees in him not only the accomplished businessman he has become, but also the little boy she raised with so much love and values. Her pride is immense, and her heart overflows with gratitude. "Idris," she murmurs, "I am so proud of you." Idris smiles at her, his determination mingling with palpable tenderness. "Mom, no one should ever treat you like that. You deserve all the respect in the world." They reach their table, where attentive staff welcomes them, ready to make this moment unforgettable. The other diners around them watch, most still shaken by the incident, but also moved by the strength of this family bond. The dinner begins, with refined dishes passing by, and Mrs. Diallo feels enveloped in a bubble of warmth and love. The view of the sea, sparkling under the setting sun, offers a soothing beauty, contrasting with the commotion of the lobby. Every bite she takes reminds her of the efforts and sacrifices she made to get here, to celebrate not only her life but also her son's success. "Mom, I want you to know that this hotel is the result of our history, of your sacrifices and strength," Idris says, his voice resonating with pride. "Every brick here carries a bit of you." The words resonate deeply in Mrs. Diallo's heart, and she lets out a smile, her eyes lighting up with gratitude. "And I am so thankful to be able to share this moment with you. Together, we show the world what we can accomplish." As they raise their glasses for a toast to life, dignity, and family love, the other guests, feeling inspired by this demonstration of resilience, begin to clap softly, turning the dinner into a collective celebration of solidarity and respect. Idris, though resolute in his actions, feels the wisdom and gentleness of his mother soothing his anger. "Don't be too hard on him, Idris," she murmurs, smiling, as if she can see beyond the humiliation endured, seeking the seed of goodness that could still be nurtured. Maybe he'll learn from this lesson. These words resonate in him like a soothing melody, reminding him of the values his mother instilled in him from a young age: patience, respect, and above all, the ability to turn every challenge into an opportunity for growth. Inspired by this perspective, Idris nods slowly, realizing that the situation goes far beyond a simple dismissal. He understands that his role as a leader also involves the responsibility to guide and teach. "You're right, Mom. Maybe he needs a second chance." Taking a moment to assess the options before him, Idris thinks to himself that this incident could serve as a springboard for profound change within his establishment. "I'm going to fire Mr. Legrand, but at the same time, I'll give him the opportunity to learn from his mistakes. It's not just for him, but for all the staff. They need to understand that every action, every word matters, especially in an environment like ours." His mother, with a quiet kindness that defines her, gently places her hand on her son's and smiles at him. "It's important not to act out of vengeance, Idris. A true leader knows how to create learning moments, even from the gravest mistakes. If you make this an opportunity for growth for him and for the entire staff, you will inspire lasting change." Inspired by his mother's wisdom, Idris stands up, determined to turn this incident into a growth opportunity for the whole team. His mind is buzzing with new ideas on how to instill deep values of respect and inclusion into every aspect of the hotel. "I'm going to hold a big meeting with the staff," he announces, his voice filled with determination. "We're going to redefine the core values we want to see embodied here. Everyone needs to understand that this hotel is a place where every guest deserves a dignified and respectful welcome, without judgment, regardless of their appearance or social status." He casts a grateful glance at his mother, feeling the depth of her teachings, which from his childhood had shown him the importance of kindness and patience. "Mom, thanks to you, I understand that it's not just about discipline or punishment. It's primarily about education and awareness. I'm going to make sure Mr. Legrand understands not only the gravity of his behavior, but also the importance of redemption. I want to give him a chance to change." His mother, her gaze filled with pride, smiles softly at him. "That's the right approach, Idris. By showing him that change is possible and offering him a chance to redeem himself, you're not only creating an environment of respect but also an opportunity for him to grow. After all, we all evolve by learning from our mistakes. Perhaps even this trial will transform him for the better." A few days later, Idris gathers his entire staff in the grand reception hall. The elegant and bright decor of the room contrasts with the seriousness of the meeting, and each employee, from the housekeepers to the reception managers, feels the weight of the moment. Idris stands before them, hands clasped, his gaze kind but determined. He takes a deep breath and begins his speech. "We have chosen to work in a place that represents elegance, quality, but above all, humanity. Our mission is not only to provide exceptional services, but also to respect every person who walks through our doors. This includes our guests, our colleagues, and everyone who is part of this establishment." He pauses, observing the attentive faces in front of him, and continues gravely. "It's easy to fall into prejudice, to forget that behind every guest is a story, a life. We must remember that our duty goes far beyond appearances. That's why, starting today, we will implement a training program to strengthen our sense of empathy and respect, not just in words, but in actions." He points to a whiteboard where the words dignity, inclusion, and empathy are written. These are the values that define our establishment. If we embody them, we can offer much more than luxury service. We'll offer a true human experience. At the end of the meeting, Idris informs the staff that Mr. Legrand will no longer work among them, but he has been invited to attend an awareness program before he leaves. He wants this example to serve as a reminder to everyone. Every behavior has consequences, but each person also has the potential to change. As the employees leave the room, a murmur of reflection spreads among them. Idris, standing near the door, exchanges a few words with each one, taking the time to reinforce this learning moment. His mother, who had discreetly observed the entire scene, joins him and slips her hand into his. Her proud and peaceful gaze speaks volumes. She knows her son has done more than impose a rule. He has inspired authentic and lasting change.